There is this other guy that was around during the American Revolution named Patrick Henry, and he was famous for saying, "Give me liberty or give me death." Well, he's from Virginia, so it's probably "Give me liberty or give me death." And this is where we get this energy in America of airplanes and marching armies going to war and flags waving because we feel like we're defending freedom. But freedom, as I said earlier, a couple days ago, is freedom is personified in this country best in the words of Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. America is a land of equality, not freedom. Because when the word freedom comes up, another word immediately shows up, which is responsibility. And what's the responsibility of freedom? To guarantee equality for all. Once again, if you're going to have freedom, you have a responsibility, and that responsibility is to give freedom and give equality to all. Freedom, responsibility, equality. So you're going to end up back at equality anyway. So what we have is freedom of speech. Free speech is what we call it. And what I want to talk to you about today, and maybe a day or two, I don't know, is about fair speech. I want us to start talking in this country no longer about free speech, but fair speech. Fair speech. And fair speech is not difficult. People will say, well, how would you judge whether something should be allowed to be said or not, or whether it's inappropriate to say? Can I tell you, I don't think it's that difficult. Free speech ceases to be free and becomes unfair when it declares that one people, one religion, one organization, one party, one gender, or one lifestyle is inferior to another. Anything that establishes supremacy is not free speech and is not fair speech. This is how we judge these things. When we sit around and say, well, even when we talk about culture, well, that's what the black people do. That's a black thing, or it's blackish. These are the kind of speeches we've got to start analyzing and saying this is unacceptable because it's establishing a supremacy of one group over another. Let's keep it simple. Would you mind? How about this? No one is better than anyone else. There you go. Anything that speaks, teaches, shares, music that advertises a message different than that is not for the common good and does not create the equality that Jefferson talked about in the Declaration of Independence, but instead just allows for wild freedom to give me liberty or give me death. That's not what this country is. It is a country that is equal. And when it's equal, freedom can reign because freedom is based upon responsibility. Responsibility, freedom, equality. Equality gives freedom, begins with responsibility. This is how we know we're heading in the right direction. So the First Amendment needs to be abridged not to free speech, but to fair speech. We already do it in the courts of law. You can't libel somebody. You can't lie about them. You have to give fair speech. Does that sound fair?